Hello and welcome to Spencer's Library. I'm Claudia and this is my Jane Austen July TBR. I already made an announcement video about Jane Austen July, so if you don't know what it is, first of all, why did you click on this video? But secondly, do go and check out the announcement video in which I explain everything there is to know about Jane Austen July. However, I'm assuming you know what this is about, so let me tell you what I'm planning to read and watch this July. The first book that I'm going to read, and this is for the very first challenge of Jane Austen July, which is read one of Jane Austen's canon. I am going to join the read-along for Pride and Prejudice, which starts on the 1st of July. That's tomorrow, if I manage to upload this video on time. That's today, if I don't manage to upload this video on time. So if you have a copy of Pride and Prejudice and you want to join the read-along, then do so. There's a Goodreads group, which I'll link down below. Pride and Prejudice, I feel like I don't have to say too much about it. It is Jane Austen's most well-known novel, and it is my personal favourite of hers. And I am entirely shamelessly a basic bitch here because I love Pride and Prejudice quite a lot. I think it is perfection as far as novels go. I enjoy it every time I reread it. I can't get enough of it. I discover new things every time, and I'm very excited to read this one in this group setting as well. The second book that I'm planning to read for the second challenge, read a book that's not one of Jane Austen's main 6 novels. And there's a read-along for that as well. I actually have the book here to show you. So for those of you who don't know, I still don't have a bookshelf. Once I have a bookshelf, it will be lovely in this space right behind me. But I haven't got one because I'm extremely picky and I haven't found one that I like and that I can afford. So my books are still in boxes where I'm sure they're quite happy. However, it means that I can only really show you the the hard copies of the books that aren't in boxes. Anyway, I'm going to be reading Lady Susan, also with the Jane Austen July group read-along. Now this one starts in the second half of July. The exact date I will put in the description box. It's a very short epistolary novella that I have read before. I've done a review video about that as well, which I'll link down below if you're interested. And I really enjoyed this. It's very, very funny. It's very different from Jane Austen's other works. And it's one of those stories that really makes me regret the fact that she died so young and didn't have the chance to develop more into that sharp satirical direction that she's taking with Lady Susan. The third challenge is to read a non-fiction work about Jane Austen or about her time. And for the first time ever in Jane Austen July, I don't have a pick for that. Nothing has really spoken to me this year for that challenge. So I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to just skip it or if I'm going to have another look maybe later in the month, maybe watch a few YouTube reviews for things that people are reading this year. I should also at this point mention that I'm doing a PhD in music history about that specific period. So day in, day out, I read essentially non-fiction about that time. So in a way, I am living the third challenge my entire life at the moment, and I just don't really feel like there's anything in the sort of popular non-fiction world to kind of intrigue me about that. However, what I'm lacking for in the third challenge, I'm making up for with the fourth. Now, the fourth challenge has been expanded this year. Minerva, say hello. She does not want to say hello. Rude. She's just sitting there to remind me that it is her feeding time in 40 minutes. Sorry, in 38 minutes. Witness the starving cat. Anyway, the fourth challenge is to... nice done. The fourth challenge is to either read a retelling of a Jane Austen book or to read a historical fiction that is set in Jane Austen's time. And I go into much more detail about what this challenge entails in the announcement video. But I have gone a little bit wild this year for picking books for that. So I have several picks just for that challenge because I'm weirdly excited about it this year. Now, the first one I want to mention is, and this is on your recommendation, The Unknown Ajax. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. By Georgette Heyer. Oh, right, okay, cool. Some lens wipes fell out of it. this is a classic romance from, I believe, the 1950s was when it was first published. 1959. And it is my first ever Georgette Heyer book and my first ever Regency romance novel. What was funny was that I asked for recommendations for Regency romances, and this was by far the most suggested one. However, so many people who recommended this in the comments to my last video said, read The Unknown Ajax because it's not too romancy. You'll like it because there's a lot of humor in this, and it's not too romancy. And part of me is thinking, well, I wanted a romance novel. I wanted to read a Regency romance, which is a genre that I have not dipped my toes into. I'm okay with reading romancy romance if I'm specifically asking for that genre. But, you know, I had to get this one because so many people said it's the perfect starter novel for Georgette Heyer. And they said it's very funny. They said it's very close to Jane Austen in the sort of vibe, I guess. So we'll see. I'm very curious about it. The second book for the fourth challenge that I'm reading, and this is a buddy read that I'm doing with Jack from I can say this. A buddy read I'm doing with Jack from Spread Book Joy. My English is just gone completely now. Sorry about that. And this is one that she picked. It's Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. I have read this book before, 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And she picked this one because part of it, not all of the novel, but I would say the majority of the novel, is set during Jane Austen's lifetime. This is from 1979, I want to say, or 78. I believe it's from the late 70s. And it is an absolutely fascinating, masterfully written and heartbreaking time travel novel in which a writer is sort of entirely by accident, transported back into her own family's past, ends up on a plantation in 1815 in Maryland, and is then essentially enslaved. So she goes back and forth between her present day, which is the 70s, because the book was written in the 70s, and 1815. It's an absolutely excellent novel. It was the first Octavia Butler novel I read, and I would say I prefer Parable of the Sower because I am a huge fan of apocalyptic fiction, but an absolute 5-star read, this one. So I'm quite excited to read this again. Jack hasn't read it yet, so it'll be a discovery for her and a reread for me. I said there was a lot that I'm reading for the fourth challenge, so the other stories that I'm going to read for the fourth challenge, and I've already sort of mentioned this in the announcement video, I'm going to read a lot of fan fiction on AO3. I asked for recommendations for that in my last video as well, and some of you really delivered. So I've made a list of fanfiction stories, fanfictions, is that the plural, that I want to read. I want to give a special shout out to Hannah from Ling Hermione, who on her blog has, last year actually, did a little write-up of various stories with links and, little reviews. So I'm going to pick from that list, and I'm going to pick from the suggestions made by you in the comments, and I'm just going to have a wild browse and probably read quite a few. I'm going to print them out because I am 30 and I like reading my books on paper. And also because Bill and I got scammed by HP, so we had to buy a new printer recently because the old one, which we had actually bought secondhand, gave up after a few short months. So we thought, well, we'll buy a new printer, and we got one from HP because we never ever learn. This is not an endorsement for HP. When we bought it, there was this thing, hey, do you want 6 months free ink? I'm like, yeah, free ink. Why not? Why not get free ink? Well, when you check the little box that says I have read all the terms and conditions, what we should have read but didn't, is that then you're essentially signed over your soul to the devil for ink, and we now have to buy this stupid subscription to... The point is, we have a lot of ink, and therefore I'm going to be printing off all of this fan fiction. I'm probably going to put them in a nice ring binder and read them like that. Any more suggestions, by the way? Still open to lots of Jane Austen fanfiction suggestions. Put them in the comments, but don't add any links because YouTube doesn't like that, and it will remove your comment, and then I won't even get to see it. The last two challenges are watching challenges. The first one is to watch a direct screen adaptation of a Jane Austen work, and I have got two in mind. One that I know is going to be excellent because it's recommended left, right and centre, and that is the adaptation of Lady Susan, which is confusingly called Love and Friendship. I believe it stars Kate Beckinsale, who is a name I've heard of. This adaptation is supposed to be very funny and very accurate to the novella, I guess. I imagine you have a lot of freedom when adapting an epistolary novella. So I'm curious to see how that's done. I expect it's going to be fun. And I might make a review video about that film. We'll see how much I have to say about it after I watch it. The second direct screen adaptation, and I feel like I'm not the only one who's going to be torturing myself with that, is the new Persuasion film that's coming out on Netflix right in the middle of July. I have recently gotten myself a Netflix subscription, entirely, by the way, entirely to watch Sex Education, which is a TV show that among its cast has Ncuti Gatwa, who plays the new Doctor Who, and my nerdy self could not contain myself. I had to watch the one big thing that he'd been in before so I can be properly hyped about... Anyway, this is not about Doctor Who, this is about Jane Austen. So, got myself a Netflix subscription. I'm going to watch the new Persuasion. I don't have high hopes. My expectations were already low last year when we saw the pictures from set. Look, I know it's your feeding time in 28 minutes, but could you please be a little more quiet? Okay, she's actually adorable. I have to show you that. Hey, that framing is kind of nicer than what I had before. I mean, you can see there's sort of a little bit of a mess in the background, but you can also see Minerva playing with a little toy, so that's cute. Where was I? Yes, Netflix's Persuasion. So last year we saw pictures from set, and I was already disappointed by the hair. And I am not by any means a hair historian, but those fringes were so 2007. You could have at least tried to make it look like 1807, they did not. So even when I saw these pictures, I was already being a snob about it. And then I saw the trailer, and the snobbishness intensified 100-fold. I have very low expectations. I think the best I can hope for from Netflix's Persuasion is that it's so bad it's good. And if it is, I'll make a review about it, I'll talk about it. I might be surprised positively, I might be entirely blown away by this film. I probably won't, but miracles can happen. And the final challenge is to watch a modern screen adaptation of a Jane Austen novel. And I didn't really have a pick for that until my co-host for Jane Austen July, Marissa, said, "You've got to watch Fire Island," which is a modern Pride and Prejudice adaptation, which from what I understand is set on a gay resort in New York. She said it's so good, it's so funny, you have to watch it. Which is going to be a little bit impossible because it's on Hulu in the US and it might be on Disney Plus in the UK. I'm not sure about that. It's not on any streaming service here. So getting hold of this film is going to be a challenge, but if I manage, then I will watch that as well. And I'm hoping I do because everything I've heard about it so far has been entirely positive. So there you go, that's what I am reading and watching for Jane Austen July. As always, I'm just going to give you little hints of what is going to happen on this channel during the month of July. There's a few videos that I have already planned out. There's one video I've already recorded, go me. And I'm going to be doing reviews for the books that I read, if I have enough to say about them. I probably won't do a review for the books that I'm rereading, like Lady Susan I've already done a review video for, which I'll link down below, because I probably won't have that much to say on a second read. I am going to do... Alright, drama queen. I am going to do at least one reading vlog, and I'm thinking I might do a reading vlog about my adventures in fan fiction. I sound like such a dinosaur. I'm going to be, when I'm there with my little ring binder full of the printed off things that I got because I got scammed by HP, I might do a little video vlogging that and giving little reviews of the works that I'm reading there. The video I've already recorded. I'm quite excited to show you that, although I haven't edited it yet. But it is a collaboration, an in-person collaboration with Kathy Grimm from The Grim Reader. I'll link her channel in the description box. And she and I had a little chat over a glass of wine or two about Mansfield Park, because she really likes it. It's her favourite Jane Austen novel, and it is my least favourite Jane Austen novel. So we fought it out like men, you know, and recorded that. I'm also planning to do a video with Bill, and I know a lot of people ask about Bill and say, can you get Bill on the channel, which is extremely good for his ego, because it really needs that. We're going to do a little collaboration, you know, something funny like we do, but that's, the details of that have not been worked out yet. And then, you know, I'll see where the mood strikes. So you can expect a few things from this year's Jane Austen July in Spencer's Library. Nothing quite so involved, I'm afraid, as last year's Jane Austen Taskmistress. So before I finish this video, if you have not seen Taskmistress, go and check it out. It's, I would say, in all of my channel, the video that I'm most proud of. And it's a collaboration with 4 other wonderful people, Jane Austen fans. It's hilarious, if I may say so myself. And I may say so myself, because the people who are actually doing all the funny shit is the other people. Check it out. I will link it in the description box. And I'll also, if I remember, I'll add it in the end cards so that it should pop up somewhere in the air and you can click on it. So that was it for my Jane Austen July TBR. I hope you are having a good Jane Austen July if this is going up on the 1st of July. And if it isn't going out on the 1st of July, then I am more productive than I thought. Thank you for watching. Bye. Oh, that was perfect. Did you hear that? Minerva just doing a little right at the end there. Yes, Minerva, it is indeed your feeding time in 21 minutes.